I'm Chris.
I'm Sandy.
And this is Parenting Autism. Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 86, our post-vacation podcast. Hi,
Hello.
Sandy.
Hey, Annie. How are you?
Good.
Good.
So we got a lot of notes today, right?
Well, I do have some notes. We just came back from our vacation.
Stuff to cover.
But then I had another inquiry come in through the website. Mm-hmm. And so I thought this person asked some pretty important questions that I thought if we talked about those, it might help other listeners too. So that's what I got today.
Sounds good. And
then I think we talked about possibly having Bryce come back in and let everybody hear his voice after vacation. Ask him
we have some questions
about
for him.
the few things that we did.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a really nice break. It was great. And I think we were away for 9 days or so.
Mm-hmm.
And been back almost a week, and what a week it was coming back.
Yeah.
Back
to reality.
Work was definitely a heavy load, trying to squeeze 4 days into 5 days, 5 days into 4 days. See, my mind's so blown, I can't even talk straight. And then, of course, making up for last week. But that's okay. We got a lot done. Bryce, I think, did well overall. Readjusting. He was a little emotional, more than the normal. Cried a little easier about certain things on Tuesday and Wednesday, but I think he got back into his routine.
I mean, who wants to be back from vacation, right? But thankfully, he does enjoy school. So
yeah, he did well with school, and he enjoys therapy. I just
we should talk about school too, with what we're running into with that.
Yeah.
So not to add anything to.
I know.
The plates.
I feel like my mind's blowing today. Short-circuiting here. School. I think we briefly mentioned that you were running into something with school last time.
Did I?
Yes, we did. About the language and arts that we had hit a little blip right before we left. And... But go ahead and say what happened because you reached out to the community, right?
Yeah. Third grade is much harder than second grade. And I felt like we were kind of on level with second grade. When we finished second grade, I felt, that's great. We accomplished that, and he did pretty well with that. And then we do school year round, so we started third grade just a few weeks back, and it was like we jumped 2 grades in language arts. Like math, we kind of picked up where we left off, and he's doing good with math and science. Well, actually, science and social studies is more reading now and comprehension, I'm noticing with that, more than just studying science and social studies. But anyway, so I felt like I was backed into a corner because I had a choice to make. Do we stop and slow down and go over things like idioms and evaluative questions and interpretive questions and all these things that I didn't necessarily remember learning in school? Or do I skip over those things and hope that it'll pick them up later on down the line? So I reached out to a special needs teacher friend of ours, Miss Rhonda, and she suggested just to slow down, to take our time, don't worry about deadlines. It's homeschool. Here in Florida, all you have to do each year is show that you've made progress. You don't actually have to, quote, complete a grade level. So, I feel better about that. And that was a good reminder that, it's okay if we have to slow down and spend more time on that. I might have to adjust my schedule to make more time for this slowdown that we're going to be doing in language arts. So I hear feet steps. Is that Bryce?
Hi.
Do you want to come in?
Look what this is.
Hey, Bryce.
There's wedding seats with organs.
Oh,
Wow.
my goodness.
Bryce is sharing Animal Crossing with me because we've been playing today.
Hey, Bryce, while you're here, why don't we ask you some questions?
Is that all that we're doing for the podcast?
Yeah, you want to answer some questions?
Yeah.
Okay, come on over next to Mommy.
I want 2 rolly chairs.
You like our rolly
You
chairs?
can sit on my lap in the rolling chair.
No, I want to sit on it.
You want to sit on it?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll let you take over. Back out.
Take over?
Here you
Yeah.
are. You get to be the captain in the seat.
And Mommy will
Is
take
Daddy
your...
the
Hold
captain?
Mommy will hold that.
Is Daddy the
Well, I don't know.
I don't know.
Let's be a captain.
Who's the captain?
You're the captain of my seat. 'cause
All
I'm
right,
not
sit
in it
down.
anymore.
Pull your chair up to the microphone.
Daddy, are you the captain?
I'm the captain. Okay?
And I'm...
That would be the
You're the
co-captain.
student.
Okay.
I want the captain. I want to be the regular captain.
Well, when you know all the stuff like Daddy does, you can be the captain.
Okay.
All right. So, Bryce, tell us about our vacation.
It was great. It
What did we do?
was a lot fun.
Yeah. Well, do you remember what we did?
I don't know.
Do you
Where did we go?
Where did we go?
Which states did we go to?
I don't know. Maybe South Carolina, North Carolina,
That's correct.
And
and what?
Which one did we drive through that we didn't on the way to South Carolina? Do you remember that one with the peaches?
Georgia.
There you
yeah,
go.
there you
Good.
go. There you go. And do you remember we went and saw like a boat somewhere? What was that? Did we see a ship or something?
Yep, we saw a ship.
What was it?
An aircraft carrier and a battleship.
Wow. And what was on that aircraft carrier?
Airplanes.
Yeah. And what did we do on that aircraft carrier?
I don't know. Maybe.
Sit up closer so they can hear you, okay?
Maybe I explored
Right.
Yep.
and we saw the basement.
Yeah, we did on the aircraft carrier, right? Do you remember what was down there?
The engine
Yeah,
experience.
the engine experience, yes. And what was on top of the aircraft carrier?
Airplanes.
Did you see any that you liked?
Yeah. The F-14.
Yeah?
The F-18 Hornet.
Oh, nice. And what movie did we see?
The F-14 movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Top Gun, right?
The Top Gun movie.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
What do you remember about that movie that you
I
talked?
remembered that the aircraft exploded when they go 10 times the speed of sound.
Yeah, in the very beginning. Yep.
Yeah.
It went 10 times the speed of sound and it exploded. Let's see. What else did we do on our vacation? Do you remember? Did we do a hike?
I guess I did.
Where did we hike to?
Maybe I don't. To the waterfalls.
Yes, we did. Was it a hard one or an easy one?
A hard one.
Because why?
Because we had to do the rock
We had to climb up the rocks.
and go down the rocks.
Wow. And do you remember when you took your shoes off? What happened when you did that?
There was mud on it.
Yeah, there was mud on your shoes. But what did you do after you got your shoes off?
I went in the water.
Yeah, you crossed the river, right?
Yep.
All by yourself?
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Let's see, what else did we do on vacation? Or do you remember anything else?
About the boat.
The boat.
Oh, Mommy reminded you of the boat. What happened on the boat?
I don't know.
You don't remember the boat?
I do remember it.
What happened on the boat?
We're almost done.
The boat?
Yeah, the boat.
Who drove it?
I did.
Yeah.
I was the captain.
Yeah. What'd you think about that?
That was cool.
How many engines did it have?
One.
One? Mm-hmm.
One engine. What boat has more than one engine?
Oh, there's different boats that have more than one engine. But the one that we had one engine, right?
An aircraft carrier.
Oh, yeah, that has more than one engine. Was this a quiz?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. So, how did you learn how to drive the boat?
I just used the steering wheel.
Really?
Yeah, and the throttle.
Did anybody help you with that?
Nope.
Okay.
You're just smart like that.
Were we on a lake or a river or a stream?
A lake.
Okay, we were on a lake. Do you remember what we saw on the shore of the lake?
We saw someone camping.
That's right. They had tents and they were camping. That was pretty neat, right?
They were camping near the water.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is there anything else you want to say about vacation? Oh, Mommy reminded you about that. Well, what happened?
I lost a tooth.
Oh, boy. You pulled it out all by yourself. What?
Now let's talk about Animal Crossing.
Okay, let's talk about Animal Crossing.
So I got the pipe organ on Animal Crossing.
And how did you do that?
I did the wedding so many days.
Oh, you had to do a wedding for so many days to get a pipe organ?
Yeah.
And do you have to buy the pipe organ?
No, you don't have to. She only gives you one each time. She only gives you one. She only gives you one per an Animal Crossing time.
Oh.
When you restart, she'll give you one again.
Did you play it?
Yep.
What's it sound like?
I don't know. Maybe it sounds like a piano.
Oh, okay.
Much different.
Oh.
Because it has more keys.
Oh, it has more keys. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very nice. Anything else about Animal Crossing you want to share?
Oh. Maybe. Well, I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe I know.
Okay.
I got something good to show you.
What?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Do you feel like you're all done?
Oh, I think so.
All
Are you
right.
ending it?
Yeah, you can say
we're
bye,
not done.
and Mommy and Daddy will take over.
Bye.
All right. Thanks for being on the show, Bryce.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
You're gonna end it right now?
No, we're gonna
finish.
we're gonna finish talking. Yep.
Okay. Thanks for showing me that, bud.
Yeah. Thanks for talking to us. Can you close the door? Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Bye. Oh,
And there it is.
That was special.
So you heard the highlights of the trip.
Yeah, there they are.
There they were.
So I think I ended up on school, but anyway, I'm part of a couple of autism / homeschool groups on Facebook, and they had the same consensus to just slow down, take our time, and get through the material, and don't worry about learning it all on this pass. You know, what I'm finding is they'll touch on subjects and then they'll come back the next year and touch on them again, you know, so you don't have to learn it all in one shebang, you know what I mean? So I'm feeling better about that, and this week we'll slow down and take our time.
Well, I think it's important too, because I mean, I'm not in your classroom setting to observe, but one day when I asked Bryce how school was, he told me it was really hard, and he has rarely told me that it's hard. And he didn't complain about it in any way. He just said it was really hard. But I don't want him to begin dreading school,
Right.
because he's done so well with it. And he overall has really, really enjoyed it. And he loves to learn. So I think
And he's patient. So
He really is.
Like, he will try and try, you know, and that is half the battle, that he wants to try, you know. So I will walk that line, you know.
Right.
I don't want to push them into the I don't want to do
Exactly.
school anymore.
Exactly.
So, and I was that way in school. I did not like school, so I don't want him to be that way.
Yeah, see, I did like school until, later for other reasons. I always enjoyed learning and stuff, but I just don't want it to be something that he feels is so hard that he doesn't enjoy it. Mm-hmm. So I think you did the right thing and, just pacing it. And like I said, you and I were talking, I'm like, they have pace educations in certain schools for a reason, because you might do one subject that's going to come a lot easier to you, but other subjects you're going to struggle. Mm-hmm. And that is the beauty of doing homeschool instead of having him in a cookie cutter education environment, is we have those kind of controls to do what's best for him.
Yeah. I mean, if you got a group of 30 students in a public school, you either keep up or you don't.
Yeah.
You have to conform.
Yeah. So fortunately, we're in a position that we don't have to do that, and he's going to be just fine. Mm-hmm. And I also, you had mentioned inferences, I think it was. And so I mentioned that to Miss Crystal, who's doing his speech this summer, and she said, I have lots of tools for that. And when I picked him up this week, they were already starting to do some stuff. And she said, he's struggling with it, but she goes, I'm not pushing it hard. I'm just going to do a little each week. I said, perfect. That's all I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. If we can find different ways to introduce and reintroduce these concepts to him.
Even in everyday life.
Yes.
If we think of it.
Me and you. Exactly. So that's one thing that's important, like for you to communicate to me specifically where the struggles are. It would be like any teacher communicating that to a parent that says, I need your help at home too. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm asking you on the air if you can make those notes, because by the time I get home and we get to have a discussion, you can't remember the details of specifics of what he was struggling with.
Yeah, like a specific story or whatever, but I write down.
Because I'll ask you, well, what's he struggling with? And it's kind of like, well, so the more you can give me specifics, then the more I can incorporate it too when I'm with him.
Yeah, so in my daily log, I'll log what we go over in school, but I may not remember the specific story, right? So, like, for instance, one of the lessons was about this book by Stuart Little, and I think I went to the library to get it, and it was like, I don't know, 100 or 200 pages. Like, we're supposed to read this and then answer a handful of questions about it.
Right.
And so, I mean, that's
a
subject that he's not interested in.
Yeah. So it's good. It's all good. And so in your book, when you're writing down, just make a note, show Sandy.
Yeah, or I can even take a picture of the screen.
Yeah, just something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, see, this is how we work together, because that's what we got to do. It's like a teamwork for sure.
It is.
So speaking of teamwork, I will share this briefly because we need a little humor before I go into this more serious topic. So we came back from vacation this week.
No.
And we had a situation before we left where you thought you were hearing something
critter
rustling up in our attic.
Yep.
And you said, I know there's something up there. So we have like a crawl space in our master closet. So for several days, there was a big ladder in our master closet with an orange cord coming out for the power cord and a canary camera up there trying to record this critter.
Yeah.
We paid for the annual recording fee, all of that, right? So we were determined, okay, if there's something up there, we're going to catch it on film.
It'll motion detect.
I said, no problem, do it. But after several days, there were no beady eyes lighting up the screen.
So my cord and my ladder got kicked out of the bedroom.
Did. So everything got put away and we went on vacation. We come home on Monday evening, and I guess you went to the restroom when we got back into the house.
Yeah, I went to the bathroom, and whatever it was must have been pretty comfortable because I woke him up and I heard, I don't know if you can hear
so you
that.
came out and you go, that's it. I just woke it up.
I know it. It's here.
It knows we're here and I know it's up there. So I said, well, then just call an exterminator. I mean, at this point, if you know it, and you're like, well, I'm like, that's what they're paid to do. It'd be worth it. Let's do it. So you called the exterminator, rats to bats.
Yep.
And he came out and crawled up there and said, yeah, you definitely have something that's been up there. And the droppings look like a possum. But it's like, how would we get a possum in our attic? And how would it even be getting up there?
I went up on the roof. I'm looking for all possible openings that this thing could come in under the eaves. And I'm like, there's no holes. I don't see anything. And the guy came out and he did the same thing. He walked around the house. He's like, the only place that I can see that something could come in or out is where your air conditioning unit, the pipes from it and the wires go into they go up the outside wall under this cover into the attic. And there was just enough space for a small animal to get up in there.
Right. So you guys put a couple rags in there while the guy was going to bring out a trap if he saw that there was evidence of something trying to go up that way, correct?
Well, yeah, he says, we're going to stuff rags up here. And if he says tomorrow morning you come out and the rags are out, that means this is the path that he's taking.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. I came out the next morning and I said, hey, he's like, okay, it's definitely the way it's using to get in. And I'll be out there this morning with a trap. So he came out with some marshmallows and some lure. It smelled, I don't know. And he smeared it on the marshmallows and put it in the trap. Anyway.
It worked.
So the next morning we had our culprit. He was in the trap looking all ashamed. Like, I'm sorry I was in your attic. And
he was alive. And and the guy came and got him and took him back to where he should be, which would not be in our home.
Yeah, so he just relocated him.
Yep. So that was done, and that was in the morning. And then that night, we were getting ready for bed, and you were in the bedroom, and I was in the other room. Actually, Bryce was in the bath. So I just gotten Bryce into the tub, and he watches his video full blast while he's in the tub, soaking in his salts and stuff. So I heard you say, there's a blueberry on the floor.
Yeah.
Like a blueberry, because Bryce eats blueberries.
Yeah, so I touched it with my toe, and it stuck to my toe. And I'm like, I got my finger, and I wiped it off my toe, and I smelled it. I'm like, that's not a blueberry, that's poop. What is poop doing on our floor?
So that's what I heard. And so I'm like, poop on our floor? So I go into our bedroom, and at this point, I was getting ready for bed, so I didn't have my contacts in, but I also did not have my glasses on yet. So I can't see very well without them. So you're pointing up toward what I think is the air conditioning vent, and I'm thinking, how did possum poop get on our floor when the possum was caught this morning? That's what's going through my brain as you're like, no, that's it. And you're like pointing again. And I'm like, I don't see it.
Yeah.
And I get my glasses and I saw a humongous frog in the corner, the far
on
corner
our wall, in the
of our wall,
corner.
like the furthest point away from the bedroom door to get
and
it
our
out.
bedroom is painted beige, and he's one of them frogs that changes his color.
Yeah, he's
to
like a
matches
chameleon. He
his
just like,
surroundings.
yes.
So it was beige.
He was
hard
trying
see,
to hide.
Large. I hate frogs.
Chris hates frogs. I'm not a fan, but I don't hate them the way you hate them.
So I'm like, how are we going to get it out of here? Get a bucket? No, bucket's not going to work. He's just going to jump out of the bucket.
So, as you just heard Bryce talk about Animal Crossing, which he loves that game, we had gotten him a net from the dollar store last year.
That is the best net we've ever had in our life.
Yeah, so if you're familiar with that game at all, or if your kids play it, you can catch insects and critters on your island, and they sneak up real slowly. So I told Chris, okay, we'll get the net, and you can just walk up real slowly like they do on it. You're looking at me like I was crazy. I'm like, listen, that's what we got to do. You got to get the net on the frog over in the corner. He goes, and then what? And I'm like, and then I will get a bag, and I will then put the bag around the top of the net, and then he'll be trapped in the net, and then we'll take him out the front door and free him. And you're like, I don't think that's going to work. I'm like, it's going to work. We got to try this.
So you started putting the bag over the top of the net, and it was coming away from the wall, and the thing was starting to move.
Right. So you're like, that's not going to work. I'm like, okay. Put it against the wall. So I said, let me go get another bag.
Right.
So I went and got a second bag. No, I know why. Because he
peed on you.
He peed on me. He jumped off the wall into the net on my hand and peed right on me. I'm like, oh. And then you're like, don't wipe it on me.
Don't wipe it on me.
So I'm like, oh, okay.
Because you're looking for a place to wipe it.
I was looking for a place to wipe it. So I went and wiped it off in the kitchen sink and got another bag while you still had him trapped
on the wall.
So I go back with the second bag and I start inching that back. So now you're helping me and we're like getting the bag around. Then meanwhile, this thing is like squirming all over in the net. So you're like, just grab it. Grab it
through the bag.
So I'm like, okay. So I got my hand squeezing him tight,
so
to keep him.
Move.
Yeah. So he can't hop out of my hand. There was still 2 bags between us, but I could feel everything. And you're going, make sure you have him. Make sure you have him. I'm like, I have him. So we're like dying laughing while we're freaking.
Because if he jumps out, we're going to have to.
Well, you already said I'm not sleeping here tonight if he's in this house. There's no way I
said,
can.
I'm going to get a hotel if he is in this house. I said, if he gets away, we need to see where he's going. So.
Yeah. So I knew I had a good enough grip. I felt confident enough. I'm like, okay, it's time. Let's do it. So I got him. So we're like huddling together.
I'm holding the net.
We're like shuffling
She's
our
holding
feet.
the bag.
Yes, and going as quickly as we can from our bedroom.
Open the door.
Through the music room to the hallway and out the front door. Then we threw everything out at one time, closed the door, and bolted it.
Yeah.
Ta-da! And then you saw that we had a package delivered from Amazon on your phone. You're like, yeah, we're not getting that tonight.
Yeah, we're leaving that.
And it was
there.
raining. It was a rainy, stormy night. I'm like, nope. So the next morning I went out and there was no angry frog waiting for me. There was just the net and these 2 plastic bags reminding me of what had happened the night before.
Unbelievable.
I did share the story on Facebook, but it was pretty wild.
Crazy.
So those were the funny moments of the week. Mm-hmm. But we're back from vacation. Everything's good. All critters are gone.
Critters are gone.
And life is good. So let me go to this other topic, which is, it's not a laughing topic, but it's one that a listener wrote into us about, and I said, know what? It's real, and I think it's something that we maybe have only
talked about it.
Maybe just in brief, but definitely not as really focusing on it. So here's the questions that came. Do you guys ever touch on the following topics? When parents of typical kids do not want to hear about the life of autism parents, and they tell you it's because that's irrelevant to them, and they don't seem to have any concern for something that they don't relate to. So then she wants to know if we also talk about how to respond to other parents' questions about raising a child with autism. And she said when their questions are callous and it's like the parent is asking the questions, they don't even care if the parent of the child is hurting inside regarding something difficult with their child who has autism and faces that. So I think what she's trying to ask is 2 different questions. How do you deal with people who don't seem interested or don't seem to understand? And then there's another level of people who are interested. They may not understand, but then there are some people that seem insensitive to your feelings. Mm-hmm. And in this situation, I had asked her a little more about her children, and she has 2 children on the spectrum, and 2 different ends of the spectrum within a year of each other. So I really, as I told her, I can't even imagine having 2 children that you're having to raise. Mm-hmm. And one of her sons, the oldest son, he has done really well as far as in school, and he's got his education. He just graduated from high school, and her other son, he's nonverbal. He's 17 and he's 90% potty trained, so toilet trained.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that in itself gives you an idea of what she's dealing with. And so, we have one child we're dealing with who is somewhere in the middle of where her boys are, and I have run across, some situations where I felt like especially when Bryce was younger, that people were not, they just didn't understand, and we had to address those kind of things. But
I think it was more obvious when he was younger, and what appeared to be misbehaving, was
Right.
just him having a very hard time, and thanks to God, that doesn't happen very often anymore in public.
right.
I would say. So, yes, early on, we did get a lot of looks and like, what's wrong with your kid? Can't you control your kid?
Yeah, I remember one person saying to me, if you use some spanking on him, that'll take care of it. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
you can spank it out of him or whatever.
Yeah, some kind of smart comment like that.
Whatever.
And he was a stranger.
Yeah.
So to me, that's someone that why are you even speaking?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I mean, if you don't even know us, why are you speaking?
Yeah.
But there are some people that's their personality. I personally have boundaries, and I've learned to set boundaries. If I can control who I'm going to be around, then I will control who I'm going to be around. And I realize that sometimes it cannot be avoided. I mean, if you're out like on vacation or traveling somewhere, or it just depends what your environment is all about. But, that would be I'm not really here to give advice because I like to talk more about our situation.
Here's how
But
I feel
boundaries is key.
It's like parents that had kids, and when we would talk to parents that had kids and we didn't have kids, they'd be like, wow, you don't really understand, or and we didn't, like we didn't have kids, so we didn't know what it was like with kids.
We couldn't relate.
So when we had Bryce, then now we're parents. Now we understand about kids and we love them to death. And like I said before, I think you don't know love until you have a child. That is just another level of love that God gives us. And so having a child with autism is like that same situation where we didn't have kids and they had kids. Well, we have a child with autism and they don't have a child with autism. There's just no comparison. People cannot relate to your situation unless they themselves have a child with autism. And that's how I feel about that. I feel like the friends that I have, the guy friends, when we talk about Bryce, it's more like, how's he doing? I see him on Facebook. He's doing so good. And it's kind of, pretty much surface talk. And that's what guys do anyway, is more surface talk. And that's fine. There's nothing that I'm offended by. If they want to get into a deeper conversation about Bryce, they can ask me and I'll give them all the details that they want. But for the most part, it's surface level topics with Bryce, about Bryce, and they're my friends, and they don't know what I'm going through, and that's okay. If I want to relate to somebody that's going through what I'm going through, I'll reach out to somebody that has a child on the spectrum and say, hey, this is happening. Have you ever had this happen? Or I'll go into a forum and say, hey, this is happening. What can we do about it? That type of thing. I don't really discuss those things with my parents with typical children because they're way further away,
Well, yeah.
They wouldn't understand it or know what to do.
I agree with 100% of what you're saying. And I actually have the same situation because I have friends that also cannot relate because their children are not Bryce. Mm-hmm. And I can't relate to them. They have their own set of problems going on because I don't parent their children. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that this lady had pointed out in her note that she had sent to us, so she said, Many parents have told me that autism parents should not be so dismissive of the problems that typical kids have. And she said, I don't believe I'm being dismissive in any way of the problems that typical kids have. However, I'm always hurting every day over the concern I have regarding who will take care of my children after I die. So I do believe that is definitely one area of raising a child with special needs that you at this time cannot see how they will be able to take care of themselves. That's a burden that a parent carries that another parent can't relate to if their child is on course to graduate, to get a job, to marry and have a family, and you're not worrying or wondering about that. There's no comparison
That's
there.
That's a huge burden.
And, for someone to say, well, I have problems with my kids too, absolutely. It's just a different type of problem. And I would say when your child and you don't know that your child is ever going to be able to take care of themselves for reasons beyond their control, that does deem as a different level of parenting burdens and cares that another parent can't experience. But I, with my friends, do not get into deep discussions either. But I have also found, and I realize guys and girls are different, which is one of the reasons we like to do this podcast, because it gives both perspectives. Like you said, guys are surface talk. I have surface talk friends too, but sometimes I feel like I need that deeper level mama, my autism mamas. And I have tried to make those friendships here locally. It's just life happens.
Well,
and circumstances have changed to where I did have a small group of friends, and we were getting together every week, and it felt so good for me, and it was very, very healing. But then circumstances changed. One moved away, another one, she took a different job, and her life became busy, and my life is busy, and we were not there. So I had to find other friends.
And we've tried several groups, parents of kids with autism get together and sit around a round table and discuss things, or have a specific topic. And after a month or two, they fizzle or they never even get off the ground, So it's everybody's busy, and it's just.
I think it's who really wants it.
Yeah.
And if you really want it and you feel you really need it, then you're going to pursue it. And that is the beauty of this podcast, is that the people who have reached out to us, and there are people who have we've helped them not feel alone. And we've helped them feel validated that, wow, my feelings are real and I'm not the only one who feels this way, because we have been vulnerable to share our journey, and what it's like to raise Bryce. And I think that's a great thing. And I have found some people through this podcast that, if I really wanted to go bare my soul, I could bare it to them and they would get it. And I know they would get it.
And I think that's really, you hit the nail on the head there. When we're talking about our children, it's better received talking to somebody that has a child like ours,
It is.
It's better understood, it's better received, and you get better feedback.
And that's only if I want to go deep. All
right.
of my other friends, they love Bryce. They deeply care about Bryce. They genuinely want to know how he's doing. I'm not always willing to bear my deepest, darkest concerns or my fears. And I don't do that as well, because I don't want to feel sad.
Yeah.
And I don't want to feel sad on a daily basis.
You don't want to focus on the sad things.
I don't. And, I also don't want to paint a picture that isn't real either. So I try to keep a happy balance of, our life really every day. I consider it a good day. Are there blips on the radar? Absolutely. But in our situation, and I realize, again, everybody's situation, they don't have this, but our child wakes up happy every morning, and he goes to bed happy every morning. And I would think
Every
or every night, yeah. Sometimes it feels like it's the next morning. No, he wakes up happy. He goes to bed happy. And I want to say that part of that is his wiring and his DNA and his personality. But I do think that a lot of that is because of the influence that we have, because
That's
we
true.
keep a happy,
Vibe.
light vibe in our home. And we're always, we're kind and loving to each other. We're kind and loving to him. We're kind to the people we see.
And I believe another level of that, of the happiness that he has, is his ability in the past year to communicate with us better about what bothers him.
Sure.
And how he feels about things.
Yes.
He's really learning feelings. He's learning how to communicate. Daddy, I'm angry. Oh, why are you angry? Daddy, that made me sad. Or Daddy, I shouldn't watch that. No, you shouldn't watch that. So he's really getting those things. And instead of falling to the floor or trying to hurt himself, he's able to tell us almost instantaneously that something happened that affected him adversely. And he's able to say something happened, and we can work with that. We can't, it's hard to work with a child that falls to the floor or is trying to hurt himself and can't tell you what is wrong, and I feel like when we removed dairy and gluten out of his diet, that was the starting point of him being able to communicate with us better and having a clearer mind.
And less aggressive toward himself.
Less aggressive toward himself. And I think that was, and then the next step was seeing the MAPS doctor giving us the supplements to help him get his bowels moving, get all those toxins out of him. And so...
and we do the bath to get the toxins out of him, too, with the baking soda and the Epsom salts.
And so... And if anybody wants the recipe there, it's a cup of Epsom salt and a half a cup of baking soda. And the baking soda helps them absorb the Epsom salt. Side note there. But in any case, we're just on another level now. And even him coming in and me being able to interview him just a few minutes ago, we couldn't have done that a year ago. He wouldn't have sat there and answered questions like that.
No, and he was still fidgety here like I was. So we're kind of sitting in a soundproof area, and so his hands, he's very a sensory seeker. So his hands are always wanting to touch everything, and I was afraid the thing was going to fall over. But I was able to take his hand and put it down and him not react to that, and then help him focus.
And I could tell
to talk to you.
While I was talking to him, that he was starting to think of other things because he started to look down or away, like he was back to his Animal Crossing game that he was just playing, and he was thinking about that. And so I tried to keep him on track.
You did, but the beauty of that was then he was like, okay, can we talk about Animal Crossing now? Because he talked about what you wanted to talk about, and now in turn, let's talk about what he wants to talk about. Those are the things we're trying to work with him on so that he can learn to have conversations. And, that makes me think the other night when we were at dinner here at the house, and we were talking about, I couldn't tell you what the subject was, but something about work, and I was trying to update you on something. And he kept trying to interrupt and get my attention. So then finally I'm like, Bryce, can I have a conversation with Daddy? Would that be okay? And then he goes, well, I want to be a part of that conversation. We're like, great. Well, you can. But I realize now he had no clue what we were talking about, probably at all.
He just wanted to be a part of it.
So that's frustrating for him because he would like to be a part of a conversation.
Right.
But it's like hearing a foreign language and you can't be a part of it.
Talking about work.
And that's all going to come with building his comprehension and stuff maybe in time, but we'll see.
The big thing was a year ago we wouldn't have gotten, I want to be a part of your conversation. Totally. That wouldn't have happened.
No, it would have been a poke of the eye or a fall to the floor.
Yeah, or a hit the table.
Something that, something. Lots of growls. Yeah.
But back on this topic of people.
See, and a lot of parents wouldn't understand that. And they say, oh, my kid does that too. And you know what? I think it's okay when a parent of a typical child that doesn't have one on the spectrum says, "Oh, it's okay. My kid does that too." You know, they're not saying that to
be
diminish
mean.
what
Yeah.
you're saying. Honestly, I think they're trying, or at least in my situation, I will speak for my friends. They're trying to make me not feel as isolated. Like, it's okay. My kid does that too. Oh yeah. So-and-so does that, you know? And it's like, okay, that's okay. And in my mind, if I know it's not the same, there's no need for me to debate that back and forth. Because honestly, they're just trying to make me feel better or make me feel that, oh yeah, I experienced that too.
Yeah.
You know, and then I've watched my friends. Of course, I'm an older parent. You know, I got started a lot later in life, so a lot of my friends have adult children. You know, or becoming adults. They are dealing with things that I'm not dealing with, that I can't really relate to. I can have sympathy, but I can't have empathy, and I just have to remember that does go two ways, and I feel definitely more distant from some of my friends for that reason, like conversation distance. In other words, I don't understand what they're going through and they don't understand what I'm going through. And that's part of seasons in life. But I know that those friends are there for me if I needed anything, you know, and I still nurture those friendships and keep those very close and value them. But sometimes I have to find other outlets and other friendships. And I think that's what it is. You just have to find, you know, as people say, I found my people, or I found my tribe. And I've heard that. And sometimes that can hurt your feelings too. I mean, had somebody say that it was their autism group that they found their tribe. And I felt like I was outside of that tribe, where I thought maybe before that person considered me part of their tribe, you know. And then I thought, Sandy, don't even go there.
Yeah.
So seriously, don't even go there. You know, if I really, my friends who I have in my life that I'm choosing to keep in my life, you know, remember, you have the power to choose your friends.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to do that.
I think my bullet points here would be, one is try to make sure that you're always thinking and talking about the positive things, even though it may be hard, amongst your friends. You know, try not to be the Debbie Downer all the time, or, you know, just try to keep it on a positive note. And if you have friends or so-called friends that are being critical most of the time of how you're parenting or what you're doing, then for me it would be time to find new friends. I don't have time anymore for the negativity or the people that are going to be complaining all the time, because that, whether or not you know it comes off on you.
Absolutely.
You know, it comes off on me, and then I find myself complaining or being down. And there's just such a fine line with parenting autism that you don't want to go down the down road, because that's a long rabbit hole. And you got to take every day as a new day and celebrate the wins of that day.
I agree with that. I mean, who you surround yourself with, and who you allow to be in your space and to speak into you, into your world, will determine a lot. And it's like grooming a garden, you know, and you have to prune the flowers sometimes, and sometimes the flowers grow back, and then sometimes they don't. You know, it's with friendships too. Sometimes you have to prune friendships. I've had friendships that they're seasonal, you know, again, like a garden with flowers. And sometimes they'll bloom, and then that friendship will wither away just because of what's going on in life. Not even because anything specific happened.
Right.
And sometimes it's just because your
Circumstances
circumstances in your life have changed, and they're in one place and you're in one place, physically, emotionally, all of those things, spiritually. I mean, that's a big part of it too. And, you know, I do believe that sometimes you have to do some pruning. And as much as that's painful, sometimes when it grows back more beautiful than it was before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's because you got rid of what needed to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Then you just have to reinvest and, you know, pray over your friendships,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and be wise about them and pray for this wisdom and be careful with your words. That's really one thing that, you know, it's kind of like when we went through the marriage class we did a few years ago, and they put the hula hoop on the table, right?
Yep.
And they said, you're in the hula hoop. Don't put anybody else in there. You're the one in the hula hoop. So it's so easy to look at the other people and say, well, they did this, they did that. You know, they don't understand. And it all may be true. Check it. But what about you? You know, and it's so hard to look at ourselves. And that's what I have to do. And I've really been, you know, convicted and really thinking a lot about my words and how I use them. And I want my words to build people up and not tear people down.
Need iPad cord.
Okay.
Please.
Okay. I don't know where it is.
I think it's on the counter, buddy.
It's on the counter. Thank you,
I
Daddy.
don't see it on the counter.
Okay, we'll be right out.
Can you help me?
Yeah, we'll be right back.
No, go ahead. You keep going, and I'll help you. Go ahead.
Okay, Daddy's going to help you.
Let's go check it out.
Wow, that surprised me. So anyway, I think I was talking about using my words. And I do. I'm like really, I want them to build people up. I want to speak, you know, positive things into people and not tear people down. And I do believe that if I do that, then I will receive that more in return. If all I put out there is negative things, I'm just concerned that that's what I will be getting back. You know, kind of like what Chris was saying earlier. That's kind of where I'm at with all of that. I think that's what keeps me sane. Are there times that I feel isolated and alone? Yeah. Am I human? Yes, I am. And sometimes, you know, I don't cry a lot, but I feel like that is an emotion that if I needed to, okay, then I could. I don't want to dwell in that all the time. So I do my best not to. But again, it's one of those things that, you know, just trying to look inside myself and then just make sure that I'm saying and doing the right things. And if I continue to do that, then I think that will come back to me. So I'm going to ask you this last question she asked.
Okay.
We'll do that and then we'll wrap up because I know Bryce is on a short timer here. Okay. I had someone who I know tell me that they think the only reason I care about autism is because I have it in my life having 2 kids with autism. And this parent asked me why he should care about autism because he doesn't have it in his life with his kids. I wish I knew how to respond to that. Any suggestions?
So he has the feeling like all she cares about is autism?
That the only reason why she cares about autism is because
she
her
has
kids are
kids.
autistic.
Oh.
And because he doesn't have autistic kids, why should he care?
That is a good question.
And how do you respond to that? If someone actually has the audacity to say to you,
Yeah.
well, I don't have kids on the spectrum, why should I care?
Well, I'll put myself in his shoes, and if we did not have a child on the spectrum, I probably wouldn't be aware as much as I am of how many kids are on the spectrum. Like, if you're out in public, chances are there's many people around you that have autism. And if Bryce wasn't in our life, I wouldn't know that. I really wouldn't know that. And I think it's up to us to bring awareness to people, because what we do and say, you know, has an effect on other people, and what they do and say has an effect on us. So I do think there needs to be more awareness of autism because a lot of times it's unseen.
But how would you respond to somebody if they said to you, and again, I think it takes, if it really came out this way, I would consider it insensitive to say, well, I don't
Right.
need to care about autism
We
because
weren't there for the conversation.
I know. So
we
let's
don't
just
know
say
exactly how it
But
came
I'm going
out.
to answer it the way it was asked.
So you asked me.
Okay. So again, I'm going to say
Yeah.
it again. If someone says to you, why should I care about autism because I don't have a child in my life with autism?
Oh, I would say
Why should I care?
because somebody, if not now, in the future will come into your life that has autism and is going to affect your life.
There you go.
That's
That's
why,
a great response.
That's why you should start learning about it right now.
There you go. Now,
That's
I
it.
think that's a beautiful response.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
I know there's ignorance out there
Yeah.
or people that, they don't. There are a lot of people, I have to say, that follow our story that I don't think their lives have been personally touched by autism other than knowing our story.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm grateful for those who want to learn more, follow to learn more, because it's like you just said, even if they're not being affected by it now, at some point, that may be their grandchild. That may be
Yeah.
their niece, their nephew, their employee, you fill in the blank.
At this point, you can almost guarantee it.
It's
because
more and more
of the number of
affecting
kids.
people in
Yes.
some way, some fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say that in a firm but kindest tone I could do, but in a firm way, like, listen, it may not affect you now, but you have no idea when and how it is going to affect you. So like you said, the more you can learn about it, the better prepared you'll be when it does enter your life.
Yep.
So there's your answer.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's a good one. And that's about all we can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
All right. Well, I think that was a good conversation today.
That was a good conversation, even with Bryce.
It was.
So-
It was. And so we've been getting several emails lately. I pulled this one out because I felt like those were really good questions. But any listener, if you're out there and you have questions you want us to talk about, send them our way.
Parentingautism at att.net.
There you go.
Yeah, and then don't forget to see Bryce's YouTube channel.
I know. I
Parenting
never remember
Autism
the
Show.
name. Yeah. And I know last month Chris was asking for, some reviews for his birthday. Well, it's my birthday month now. Hello.
If anybody wants to do one for Sandy.
Yes, you can. That would be awesome. So, but anyway.
Anywhere you listen to us, whatever platform it is, we'd appreciate it if you leave a review.
Yeah, and we're really thrilled. We've had several people that when we came back from vacation, we had several people in our email that they've just found us and they're starting back at episode 1 and going all the way through.
Yeah.
And it's
They're
and
binge listening.
They
said.
are, and their child is like 2, 3, 4 years old. They're newer to the journey, but they're going back to listen to all of that, and it thrills me to no end that what we are sharing is truly making positive impact.
I mean, how old
in the
was
lives
Bryce
of
when we
others.
started?
I want to say he was 4.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, most people start around that age or just before.
Yeah.
So it's a good starting point.
It is.
All right. So that's a wrap for 86.
Yes, it is. We're taking off next weekend for my birthday, but we'll be back in a couple weeks and we'll chat again soon. Until then,
Thanks for listening.
and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.